New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
What would Louise say? Join us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Hosted by Reverend Martine Bernard. Explore the wisdom of Louise Hay. Brought to you by New Thought Media Network. Dive into Louise's teachings. Experience healing and empowerment. Reverend Martine shares insights. Connect with a contemporary audience. Unlock your potential. Transform your life with love. Embrace positivity and healing. Join our vibrant community. Ready to join us? Let's spread love and wisdom together. Please like, share, and subscribe. Only on New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Well, hello, beloveds. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are streaming live with us today, or later on in the recordings on YouTube and all of our social media outlets. This is Reverend Martine Bernard, and this is What Would Louise Say on the New Thought Media. On the New Thought Media, oh my goodness, network. Welcome. I am so excited today because we have a truly extraordinary guest, someone whose work has not only transformed countless of lives around the world, but who has also stood right beside Louise Hay herself to bring the teachings of self-love, affirmation, and conscious creation to life. Well, we're welcoming back Dr. Patricia J. Crane, PhD and author of the beloved book, Ordering from the Cosmic Kitchen, The Essential Guide to Powerful, Nourishing Affirmations. Dr. Crane is a trailblazer in the New Thought and Transformational Healing movement, with a doctorate in social psychology and a deep commitment to spiritual growth. She has trained thousands, beloveds, through the Heal Your Life workshops and teacher training workshops, which she co-created with Louise. Is that not amazing? She co-created these workshops. So get comfortable, open your heart, and prepare to be nourished by divine wisdom, because your order at the Cosmic Kitchen is about to be served. Welcome, Dr. Patricia. Welcome.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Reverend Martine. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Absolutely.
It is so wonderful. It's a joy and an honor to have you back, to have you here for this one-on-one conversation. So I'd love to begin by asking you, can you take us back to your first connection with Louise Hay and how the Heal Your Life work, your iconic work, was born?
Oh, I'd be happy to. Well, first of all, like most people, I found Louise's Heal Your Body book first, with all the list of diseases and symptoms and affirmations in it.
Yes.
And loved that as well, going through that, because it always was so right on. I would read something and go, oh, that's exactly what's going on with me emotionally when I read something physically. And then in 1984, when her You Can Heal Your book was first published, I'm sure I was one of the first people that picked it up and bought it and loved it. And I was such a voracious reader at the time. And I thought, this is the best book I've ever read that brings together the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And yet it's in very understandable terms. So I was just thrilled with the book. I'm not sure I ever really thought about meeting Louise personally, but 2 years later, I was at a breakfast meeting with her, and I almost didn't go to the breakfast meeting
Wow.
because it was at 6:30 in the morning, and
That's
I'm
super
not the best
early.
morning person.
Nor am I. Nor am I. That's super early. And where was this, Dr. Patricia?
And this was at a group called the Inside Edge. And Louise had been a part of the original one. And this was in West Hollywood, I think it was. And this one was in Orange County. And she was invited to be a speaker. And it was before the book was a bestseller. So there were only about 100 people there. You know, later on, she was speaking to thousands, of course. And so I went up and talked to her after the meeting was over and said, you know, I'd like to be on your mailing list. And she said, sure, call Hay House. And, you know, I had the number for Hay House. So that was my first, you know, physical connection with Louise. And it was such a pleasure to have listened to her at this beautiful meeting that I went to. And she was actually just creating intensives, week-long intensives, because it was the time of the AIDS crisis.
That's right.
And she was doing work with, you know, the people that were dealing with that and really giving them inspiration in terms of their spiritual and their emotional growth primarily. And so I got on the mailing list, went to the first intensive, went to the second one, and one of the assistants said, oh, I affirmed to be on staff. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. So,
Can you repeat that, Dr. Patricia? I'm so sorry.
okay, one of the assistants at the second intensive I went to, when she stood up and shared, said that she had done an affirmation to be on staff.
Oh,
And I thought,
wow.
that is a wonderful idea. So I began doing an affirmation, and I was actually asked to be on staff for the next 5 intensives that Louise did.
Wow.
And at that point, the book became a bestseller because she was on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
My goodness. I saw her later with Cheryl Richardson. I think it was
Yes.
Secret. Was it that show?
No, that one was much later. This one was in 1989, and Louise was on all by herself. Well, no, she wasn't by herself. She had herself and 3 of the people that had been in the AIDS support group that she was doing, talking about their healing process.
Wow, I would love, hey beloveds, you know, those of you who we're all on social media, I'm going to watch that. I'm going to search for it, her first.
Yeah, there's some clips from it. I've never seen a full one, but there are some clips from it. But, you know, her book Oprah shows a book and it's a bestseller overnight.
That's right.
So Louise got so busy at that point. She called me and 3 others that had been working with her very intently and asked us if we would like to start leading her signature workshop, the 2-day Love Yourself, Heal Your Life workshop, which you are familiar with.
Yes, I am.
And of course, we were thrilled. Wow. And so when Hay House got inquiries about leading that workshop, which Louise had been doing at a number of centers for spiritual living and other places, they would refer to us. Wow. And that's actually how the training program worldwide started, because people started asking, this workshop has changed our lives so much over and above the book, which we love. Could you ask Louise for a training program? And I said, okay. I never thought of that either. So I came back to the United States. That was in the UK. I was in the UK at the time leading the workshop. And I called Louise and I said, Louise, people want a training program for this. And she was so good with decisions. She thought about it for about a nanosecond, I think, and said, oh, that's a great idea.
Wow.
Come on down to my house for a weekend and we'll put together the curriculum. So that's how it started. And this is the 30th year. That was 1995. Wow. And this is the 30th year.
So You Can Heal Your Life is now 40 years old, everyone. Please go out and get your, where is it? There we go. Get your copy. Yes.
There we go.
There you go. There's a wonderful gift edition. I love the gift edition. It has some wonderful images, but please go and get your copy and let's revitalize this book, which is a cornerstone, I think, which was one of the first self-growth, self-help bestsellers, to the extent that it's been translated into how many languages?
At least 35 languages, at least, and sold 55 million copies or more at this point.
Wow.
Because it touches the core of who we all are and what we all want. it really touches the core of transformation. And loving yourself is not only about that you, but it's about loving others as well.
That's right.
And really, aspiring and achieving the kind of life that you want to live. So it's just gone cross-culturally. It's been adapted and, embraced by all cultures.
Wow. And because we innately know that we can heal our lives, or we innately know that our thinking has an impact. We're not always, your wonderful husband and master teacher was here last week, and he did mention that we're not always willing to do the work. It can seem so woo-woo or out there. We can't see our thoughts, but we can certainly feel the repercussions of our thought environment. I opened up the Science of Mind a few days ago and was reading about the thought atmosphere around you and how your collective thinking, the good, the bad, the neutral, creates a thought atmosphere around your body temple. And we attract according to the atmosphere of the thoughts that we are thinking. So it's so important to make sure that they're at least 51%, I say 60, 70% positive or even more, because that is how we are attracting experiences.
Absolutely. And that's really the first principle in, as you know, the You Can Heal Your Life workshop is what you give out, you get back. And so what are we giving out and what are we attracting into our lives with our friends? There's such a tendency when you're with your friends, especially if they're not on this path, to start just talking about all the negative things that are happening in your life. And you get a lot of support and a lot of commiseration for that. But is that really helping you go forward? You certainly get support when there's challenging things happening to you. So we don't want to ignore those. But it's what's the day-to-day kind of thing. And I remember Louise talking about when she decided to stop gossiping and stop criticizing, that she had nothing to say for 2 weeks. Now, I think that was an exaggeration, of course.
Right.
But it made the point that she was very aware of how negative her not only thoughts were, but also her speaking and her connections with others had been up until that time.
It had to be so powerful to be around her.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what was Louise like as a teacher and a visionary, and just like being around her? I mean, I know she was very tall. I mean, she looked like I met her twice, so she was very, very tall. She was extremely gracious, but you worked hand in hand with her. You knew her personally.
Yes. Well, and Louise was what I call quietly charismatic.
Wow.
She wasn't a really loud person when she was teaching, but somehow, just because of all the work she had done, being a Center for Spiritual Living practitioner and minister, even without her church, because her church was the world, right? Became the world.
Yes,
But she had such an incredible energy. And I used to call her, or still do, the loving mother that we never had, most of us. The unconditional love. She just exuded that unconditional love and acceptance of people. And even in her personal life, because I knew her quite a bit personally as well, outside of the workshops, and the big intensives that she was doing. She was so cute, because if you happen to say something like a should, no shoulds or coulds, Louise she would cock her head like this and and say, okay, my dear, would you like to say that differently? So, she was really conscious in her personal life as well. And she was very gracious with her home, and just opening that to myself and my husband, Rick, and some others, to really just be able to connect with her on a personal level. And, and also Louise, we talk about, not putting people on a pedestal. And I think that's important.
Yes.
Louise was a human being as well. I did see her get angry a couple of times, but, she got over it really quickly. She just moves through things. And most of us tend to hang on to that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And so I think that was another lesson, to see how Louise could move through her own emotional, kinds of things as well. But there's something really, really important that I want to share, because it's not always really obvious.
Yes.
When Louise started out, she did not start out to have a worldwide publishing company.
Wow.
And the premier publishing company in the U.S. for mind, body, emotions, and spirit.
She didn't.
Her intention began with her life had changed so much that she wanted to help as many people as possible change their lives. That was her bottom line life purpose and intention after she found the Centers for Spirit, at the time, of course, called Religious Science. But
Yes.
after she did her own studies, that was her intention. And what happened is that just one thing led to another. You know, she had the courage to open up her work and her living room to people with AIDS and HIV, and then it grew to a group of 800 people every Wednesday night in West Hollywood.
This is astonishing because I don't know, beloveds, anyone watching, if you remember that time. I was like a little preteen. I think I was around 12 or 13 or 10. But I remember the stigma. I remember being afraid myself as a kid. And I also remember they said that you shouldn't hug or kiss anyone. And as a French Caribbean folk, we just kiss and hug. So I said, I guess I'm going to die because I'm going to keep on kissing and hugging the people I love. Because that's how much there was such a stigma and so much fear.
Yes.
So she was an outlier. She was so ahead of her time, beyond her time, to embrace a community that was outright vilified.
Right.
I mean, just very, very sad.
So, and that's why I said, you know, she had so much courage to step out and do that. And they became, those Wednesday evenings came to be called the Hayride.
Yes.
And believe me, we hugged a lot.
Wow. Hugging is good for healing and for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But what Louise also focused on is not the cure so much, you know, the physical cure, although there were some people who healed, and I know some people who are still alive today that, you know, were diagnosed way back then. But she emphasized the emotional and the spiritual healing, because that is what can lead to the physical healing. But if it doesn't, you know, you're transitioning with peace in your heart.
Exactly.
And that's what we saw a lot of times as well. So it was a great privilege to be studying with her at that time, you know, and to be part of that movement. I actually even got to lead the Hayride one time when she was out of town on a Wednesday night.
Oh,
and that was a huge privilege for me.
That sounds wonderful. That sounds like such an you've had such an incredible life, Dr. Patricia.
I have.
And
I'm
you
very grateful.
these principles. So when did you know that this was your soul's path? So you're studying, you're getting a PhD in social psychology.
Mm-hmm.
How did you blend it? Did you leave it all behind? What was your path as you're working side by side with Louise Hay?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd have to go back to the end of my teen years, actually. Yes. Because it was a time of real turmoil in the U.S. You know, the women's movement, the civil rights movement, the Vietnam War, all these things were going on. And I was doing a lot of introspection and reading. And I came to the conclusion, number one, that I was agnostic, because I couldn't understand why a God would be allowing all this. And that was my understanding of God at the time, right? But I also made a decision that my life would be of service. And I had no idea what I was even saying at that time, but it was a real clear decision. And so all the jobs that I had after that, up until meeting Louise, all were of service of some kind. I was a social worker in Watts. I was a rehabilitation counselor. I worked in a health agency that for underserved communities. And so along the way, I was also doing my metaphysical and spiritual work and completing my social psychology PhD, which it gave me a lot in terms of just broad knowledge, because social psychology is all about, you know, how people act primarily in groups. Yes. And so there was a lot of, you know, background and foundational work in that. But along the way, what I was really finding is that my spiritual and personal growth work was a lot more important. I still felt like I wanted to finish the doctorate, which I did. Finally, it took me a few years to get there, but I did that. And, you know, when I was at my, in some of the groups that I was in graduate school, and I would talk about meditation and affirmations, at the time, people thought that I was pretty weird. And yet, for me, that was what was transforming my life, not this, you know, academic study. But the academics really gave me a lot of discipline, I will say.
Yes.
And again, along the way, I met Louise just before I finished my PhD. Actually, I met her just about the same time, actually, just a few months different from that. But it was clear to me that my spiritual growth and my personal growth were really much more important than the academic work, even though that was important. And so when I met Louise, I didn't initially envision that I would be basically the one that she handed the mantle of her teaching to. I just wanted to be with my own spiritual growth. I already had a coaching practice that I was doing, so I was incorporating that. And I was also teaching short workshops in the You Can Heal Your Life work and meditation, creative visualization, and things like that. So it's one step at a time. And I think that when you make the intention, the universe starts guiding you. And see, that was the point I was trying to make about Louise as well. Her intention was, how can I share this with as many people as possible? And that led her to writing a book and then speaking and then creating Hay House and doing I Can Do It conferences. So that is the path. And that's what I encourage people to do. Set your intention, your life purpose, and things will just show up.
That's right.
You will be guided step by step into the fulfillment of that, which has been my work with Louise and the worldwide trainings.
Wow. Step by step, beloveds. We have to set our intention. We don't have to know the whole map. We don't have to know the whole outline. We can't. I don't know. We can't. And that can be overwhelming. But we will be guided with our inner ding. What did Louise mean by the inner ding?
She loved that phrase. And actually what she meant was your intuition. And because of her deep practice with meditation and with the science of mind treatments, she was incredible at creating a treatment on the fly. I know they're in her book, the beautiful ones, they're in her book, but believe me, she could do them individually as well when there was a need for it. But because she had meditated so much and really taken this work on board so deeply into her own heart and soul, she really followed her intuition. And that's what she called her inner ding. And I think that was a great phrase. She loved using that phrase. Yes. And it's something that we can all create, that we can all cultivate by going into meditation and really into the deeper spiritual work that we have. Because as you're aligned with that, the opportunities come along more and more. Because even though you might not be doing a specific affirmation, it's out there. And those things start showing up for you.
Yes, you get guidance.
Mm-hmm.
You get very, very clear guidance. I actually was in meditation the other day because we're so connected in the universe. And I thought of a friend who I hadn't spoken to in about a year because I've had a wonderful health opportunity and I'm doing so well. But I turned inward during that period and I thought of my friend and called her. I left her a voice memo and I got an immediate call yesterday because she said she'd just been talking about me to her partner the day before. And then I heard it within 24 hours. I got the strongest, I guess that inner ding went ding, 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 ding.
Yes.
And I followed my inner guidance, my intuition, and she'd just been thinking about me for about 24 hours.
That's great.
So it's just phenomenal. And it came through meditation.
Yeah.
After I meditated, because I've been ripping and roaring, my beloveds, finishing up school, doing traveling, very, very busy. So going into that silence allowed me to attune to what the universe was trying to say to me.
Right.
And I just love Louise's expression of the inner ding. Well, Dr. Patricia, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and talk about your book, Ordering from the Cosmic Kitchen. And I love the metaphor and how your work with Louise inspired it and your mastery as a master teacher. So, my beloveds, this is Reverend Martine Bernard, and this is What Would Louise Say on the New Thought Media Network. We are back. And it's a beautiful hot day. Dr. Patricia is on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast, and it's hot.
In both places.
Both places in this wonderful summer. So welcome back, beloveds. I'm Reverend Martine Bernard, and this is What Would Louise Say on the New Thought Media Network. And we have the honor and privilege of speaking to and speaking with and sharing ideas, wonderful, inspiring ideas with Dr. Patricia Crane, who worked hand in hand with Louise Hay. They were good buddies, my beloveds. She knew her. I'm like a fan. I get so excited when I'm with Dr. Patricia. She always says to me, I am human. And I'm like, I know. But you were very good friends with Louise. Yeah. I was able to meet Louise Hay twice, all by myself.
Great.
I went to You Can Heal Your Life workshop, a big event. There were thousands of people.
The I Can Do It conferences, yeah.
Yes, the I Can Do It conferences in New York. And I decided while she was on stage, or Greg Brendan was on stage, to run to the ladies' room. And I thought, I'm going to miss Louise. And then I said, no, everything is working out for my highest good. All is well. I went to the ladies' room, and it was like walking across a football field. And who was seated in the middle all by herself without any of her people was Louise Hay. And I was going to walk by her, and I thought, I can't walk by Louise Hay without saying anything. And I said, Louise, thank you for teaching me that I can heal my life and that my thoughts are creative. And she said, you're welcome. And I said, may I hug you? She said, of course, my love. And she hugged me, and then she said, I love you. And I said, I love you too. And she said, most important, love yourself. I was like,
So exciting. Oh, dear.
Amazing. And then I was able to leave early because everybody, 2,000 people were waiting in line to get a moment with her handler and her folks. And I had my one-on-one. The universe blessed me with that. So I'll talk about the second one next time. But talk to Patricia, because I get so excited. Let's talk about your book, Ordering from the Cosmic Kitchen. Yes.
Thank you.
I love the metaphor. It's so warm and accessible, yet it's deeply metaphysical.
Mm-hmm.
So how did the idea of this book come to you?
Well, the idea for the title actually came from my studies with the Center for Spiritual Living, because one of the teachers that I had was talking about that, and I thought, wow, I didn't think of it as the title for a book at the point, but I thought, oh, what a great way to think about it. I had been a fan of affirmations before I even met Louise, actually, because I had started thinking things kind of like you just illustrated in my meditations, and they would happen. And I went on a search and discovered how we create our reality in affirmations. So I'd already been using them before I met Louise. But when I worked with her, she really helped me hone them in very precisely, much more deliberately than I had before. And one of the reasons that I wrote the book, besides the fact that Spirit kept saying, you're going to write this book, I kept getting that message, was that people were asking me for some more specifics about how to write affirmations. And that's how my principles for creating powerful affirmations came about, that I talk about in the book. And There's a few of them that I just want to outline specifically because I think they will help people.
Please.
And the first one is, and I know you know this really well as well, but from your background, and it's when you do an affirmation, you don't try to figure out how it's going to happen. That's called outlining.
Yes.
And so what Spirit knows, what the universe knows, is exactly how to bring this about if it's in your highest good, and if it's in your highest interest. And so one piece of it is getting as specific as possible, but also being open. Shakti Gawain used to say this or something better, which I think is a great way to think about it as well. But I really like the playful idea of the cosmic kitchen. That there's this chef, the universe, divine wisdom, God, whatever you want to call it, that is there preparing your order. And you just need to be patient and allow it to happen.
And clear.
As clear as you can.
clear as you can. So what do you say to someone who's like, I'm not clear. I don't know what I want, Dr. Patricia. I don't know what's happening.
You do an affirmation that says, I'm now clear for what I want.
Ah,
So you,
look at that, folks.
you know, you go back to the basics, really.
Yes.
And, you know, just as an example about really being clear, when I was working as an administrator for a wellness program and I was in the process of completing my PhD, I used those groups actually to do my dissertation. I knew that I actually wanted to be teaching the classes I was organizing people to teach. And so, you know, so I knew I didn't want to be an administrator after the end of the grant I was on. So I started doing an affirmation that I'm teaching, I'm loving teaching, I'm making as much money as I'm making now or more. I have a reasonable commute. And then there were several other things that I just put in there very specifically. And this is how the universe works. I got a phone call from a guy that I had never met, who was a professor at Cal State Fullerton in, Fullerton, California. And he said, I was told that you're into holistic health. Well, that's not exactly how I would have described myself at the time.
Okay.
But he'd been referred to me by someone else who knew me. And he said, by the way, I'm going on sabbatical coming up. And would you like to teach my stress management class while I'm gone? Boom. There was my opportunity, and it allowed me to finish my commitment to the grant I was on, and then have a few months to work on my dissertation and then start teaching. And I can't even tell you, I had such a wonderful time teaching these young people something really practical for their lives, because they were so immersed in all the academics, but now they could learn something to reduce their stress. And of course, I was bringing in all these spiritual metaphysical ideas at the same time in the class. So it was a wonderful opportunity. And it was such a success that I actually ended up being asked to stay on for 8 years.
Oh,
doing
wow.
that class.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So we have to have clear orders. We can actually affirm clarity. I love how you said, ask, affirm that I now know, or I'm now clear.
Mm-hmm.
I make clear decisions. I know what it is that I want.
Right.
And it comes to me easily and effortlessly. Like really start at the beginning. I often forget. I mean, I'm so grateful, universe. I'm clearer now. But when I remember not being clear. So that's a wonderful suggestion. And you mentioned in your book that our orders can be delayed or confused. So how do we correct that?
Well, the first thing is that sometimes they're delayed because you're just not ready.
Okay.
You know, you can be affirming, like after I had a divorce, my first divorce, I was thinking, oh, my soulmate's going to show up so quickly, right?
Yes.
Well, you've met my husband, Rick, who's absolutely amazing. It took 7 years.
That's so good to know for all the single guys and gals out here.
Yeah.
That is so good to know. We have to be ready.
We have to be ready. And he was getting ready for me. And in the meantime, I was creating more of my career and honing my skills and doing workshops and things like that. So at the time that we actually, met, it was the perfect timing. And so in the process, I had to be patient. And of course, in Miracles says, infinite patience produces immediate results.
Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. Infinite patience
produces immediate results.
Results.
Yeah.
Infinite patience produces immediate results. Ooh, that is a fabulous, very mystical. It's working with the universal laws and source, God, however we call the creative life of the universe. How powerful. How powerful. So we have to be patient. So what do you suggest for the single folks, since we kind of veered off? Dr. Patricia and Rick are very happily partnered and a match made in heaven. I've been in their presence. They are wonderful together and have made such an impact on the world. How did you stay patient, Dr. Patricia? I know you were busy. You were, Louise Hay is mentoring you and your friends. So I know you're probably saying, of course I was patient, but any suggestions?
Well, I have several, actually. One is really to be in trust.
Yes.
The second one, though, really is the essence of Louise's work, and it's about loving yourself. And I
Yeah,
became very happy with just being me and not being concerned about having another partner.
that's right.
So I basically kind of gave up saying, okay, I need to be fulfilled by someone else. And it was really about loving myself and being thrilled, which I was, with my own career and where I was going with that, and my friends, my family, etc. So I think that was very important. And then trusting the timing. One other thing I did do, and there's an author out there who had a book and said, make a list of all the things the 100 things that you want in your partner or something like that. So I did do that initially. However, at some point I just said, this is ridiculous. I threw it out because I did meet somebody with a lot of those qualities and we had no chemistry at all, zero.
I threw my list out.
Yes. So I threw the list out and I said, what is most important for me? If a partner's going to show up, what's most important? The first thing was that person needed to have this kind of spiritual passion that I did, for that path, for the path. And of course, when Rick showed up, he had read Louise's book and actually memorized all those treatments in the beginning, which
Oh my gosh, that's just incredible. He's probably the only person.
that's ever done that. Maybe so. I don't know. But that was number one,
Oh,
and the second one was having a good sense of humor. And the third was about communication and just compatibility. So
he's
I threw out the long list of stuff,
those things
um,
and more.
and got it down to just a few that I said, these are the most important things to me. And I think that's what I would really emphasize, trust what's really important for you. Because sometimes a woman will say, or whoever is creating a partner, oh, I want this person who's this tall or good looking or whatever. Those are such superficial things.
They are.
And so what's really the essence of what your heart wants to connect with?
Yes.
What's the real essence?
What's the essence? That's
Yeah.
why, beloveds, I threw out my list and all of those things. I'm obsessed with the New Thought, Louise Hay, the Science of Mind. So I need someone who's passionate spiritually, but
Mhm.
all those other things, like you said,
Right. Yeah.
it's the core things. But what I love about what you've said is that self-love, the falling in
Mhm.
love with the
With
self,
yourself.
with
Right.
yourself, because
Yeah.
that will make all your relationships and your life experience
Mhm. Yeah.
better. So when Louise says fall in love with yourself because you can heal your life, and the cornerstone of her work and your
Mhm.
work, even in your book, is this self-love. What did she mean by that? We just, I have my ideas of what she meant, but what would you say, Dr. Patricia?
Well, I think a lot of it is about the qualities of approving yourself, being confident in who you are, not trying to be someone else, and really knowing that you have been doing the best you could all along in your life with the knowledge and understanding that you had at the time. But it's really about being comfortable with who you are and how you express and not thinking you need to be like someone else, that you're a unique being. And so be your unique self. And we've all come through many experiences, from our childhood and into adulthood. And really, when you start loving yourself, you realize that you really have been doing the best you could with the upbringing that you had and the knowledge and what the beliefs were that you had. And so you can be more comfortable with yourself. You can be approving of yourself. One of the things Louise says in a later part of her book is said, say to yourself multiple times a day, I think she says hundreds, I approve of myself. I
Ah,
approve of myself.
we're
And
getting
then,
the insider tips, my love.
well, it's in the book.
It's in the book, but we're getting it reinforced by the master teacher herself.
But then she has, the 12 ways to love yourself. And the number one is stop criticizing. First one is stop criticizing. The second one is forgiveness.
Yes.
And then, there's a beautiful list of more of them about just being kind to yourself and loving to yourself, supporting yourself, doing well with your own, taking care of your body. That was very important to Louise. Good nutrition and exercise. Those were very important to her.
Yes.
And, and the other piece I love, she added a couple. She started out with 10 and she added 2 along the way several years later. But one that she added that I think is so good is have fun.
Oh,
Sometimes we can get so serious about all this. I really need to do my spiritual growth. Um,
yes.
and have fun with all this. This is your life to unfold in beautiful ways.
Oh,
And
that's
so have fun with it.
yes, yes, yes. Have fun with it. I'd like to ask you one more time, and we have a great producer today, Zoe, who's with us, who's helping to make the show wonderful. I'd love to see Dr. Patricia's book again, Ordering from the Cosmic Kitchen. And so you were talking about it, the
Mhm,
role of belief and self-worth in the manifestation
mhm,
process.
mhm,
So we have to love ourselves, and then we're not catastrophizing, and then
mhm,
we're not worrying as much, and then we're trusting, and therefore, then we can bring about healthy manifestation.
mhm,
Isn't that
mhm.
correct, Dr. Patricia?
Well, that's true. And I'm going to add one more thing, and
Yeah.
that is deservability.
Yes.
That really, and that's one of the principles for ordering from the cosmic kitchen, to believe that you deserve a wonderful life, because most of us weren't brought up that way.
Precise.
We had very limited views of or beliefs about what we deserve. And so I think, it's interesting because Louise didn't really talk about that in the You Can Heal Your Life book, but it's right in the beginning of the workbook, the Love Yourself, Heal Your Life workbook.
Yes, which I have.
So,
Yes.
that can be another foundation, is to really to believe that you deserve a wonderful life.
Oh, it's so key. I think
Hmm.
it's really, really key for all of us today.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think that there's a broadcast of a lot of fear. It's we're holding in our hearts the folks who passed away in the flash floods. We
Oh,
don't
I
deny
know.
reality, my
Yeah.
beloved, but we know the truth that they are infinite beings, ageless, timeless, who are alive now, just on the other side of the veil.
Hmm.
And that doesn't just instantly heal your heart, but
No.
gives us
No.
hope.
Yeah.
Because Louise's philosophy was based in the real world, Dr. Patricia. Wouldn't you say that? She wasn't, denying the existence
Right. Yeah.
of our struggles.
Right, absolutely. And so I think also that's part of why she has the emotional release work in the book and in her philosophy, is that we do need to work with the emotional self and not do what's called a spiritual bypass, and just say, oh, everything's wonderful, when that's not how you're feeling, or that's not what's going on in your life. The people I do, oh, it's heartbreaking what happened in Texas. And the people there will really need to do their own grieving to move through that, and to end up celebrating the life of their child or their partner, whoever was lost. And that's not easy. Those are part of the human experience, and we may be spiritual beings experiencing the human experience, but it is the human experience.
It is.
And it is challenging and difficult, at different times in our lives. And so I think what is great about the spiritual work that we do, Louise's book and much other work like this that's really come to the fore in the last, 10 years or so, is
Yes.
that we then have the tools to deal with the emotional challenges, you know, um, whereas we didn't in the past, or people weren't aware of it. Not many people were so aware, and it's so much more out in the mainstream now. I like to say that when I first found Louise's work, you'd go into a bookstore and it was like back in the corner in a dark place where you could find like 3 self-help books, right?
Oh
And
my
now,
gosh, that makes me think of SNL's little spoof on Louise, and how it was it did some guy with blonde hair looking into the mirror.
he would call himself, Al Franken did Stuart Smalley. Yeah, that was hysterical.
It was hysterical. And wasn't that a spoof on Louise?
Well, it wasn't so. It was a sharing of her work in a funny way, and he had Michael Jackson, one of the not football, one of the basketball players on at one time, and he
Oh,
has the guy hold up a mirror and say to yourself, "I love you, even when I don't make a basket."
yes,
I know. In fact,
yes.
I had recorded that, and Louise hadn't seen it, and I showed it to her. And she was like, well, I guess I've really made it. I'm on Saturday Night Live.
Yes, she had, and you're right. It was a sharing of her philosophy through a funny
Mhm.
way to the world.
Yeah.
That this makes sense, and now we have science to back it up. with
Mhm.
this proof of neural pathways that whatever
Mhm.
we're thinking rewires our
Yeah.
brain,
Yeah.
positive, negative, and neutral. But
Yeah.
most importantly, the key of manifestation is deservability.
Deservability. Yeah.
We work
And
on
I would like to share one other manifestation story along with the whole idea of having fun, right?
this. Yes,
And
yes.
so we do tend to do affirmations when there is quote unquote a problem in our lives. There's a health issue, there's a prosperity issue, that whatever, relationship.
Yes.
But, and as you know as well, we encourage you to do your whole life story and affirmations about every area.
Yes.
So I went to a workshop after I'd met Louise, but it was with a different teacher. And she said, everybody's always affirming for prosperity. Why don't you just affirm directly for what you want? And she really challenged all of us that were in that workshop. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. So I started thinking about what I, might really want just to have fun with it and not really even care if it happened or not. So I thought, with my first husband, I went to Hawaii a couple times with him, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to start affirming for a free week in Hawaii. Now, I know. So I started doing the affirmation. and I'd feel the breeze on my cheek and smell the plumeria and, all the aspects of being in Hawaii. I really made it a very, deep visualization and experience with it. And a few months after I'd been doing it, now I have to say, see, I didn't care whether I got it or not. I wasn't tied to this has to
You
happen. That's
surrender.
the other part about letting go, right?
Yes, yes.
And so a few months later, I just happened to run into a woman that had her son had HIV and AIDS and had passed away, and I'd done some support work with her. And she had just been to Hawaii, and I just wasn't even thinking about it. And I said, "Oh, where do you go when you're in Hawaii?" And she said, "Oh, my husband and I are part owners of a condo there. I'd love to give you a free week because you helped me."
Oh,
And I went,
wow.
"This stuff works, So,
It definitely does work.
so I really encourage people to have fun with it. Put things out there that you don't have if it doesn't happen, you're not really concerned about
Right.
it. Some things we're very concerned about happening.
That's right.
But to be able to just let it go and say, okay, this would be fun, and let's see what happens. And then let the universe, the cosmic kitchen, do its magic.
That's right. We are nearing the end of our show. And Dr. Patricia, what are 3 tips from your book, from your work with Louise? I mean, we're going to have Dr. Patricia back on. She's a master teacher, and we're going to get really specific. There is her website. Please, my beloveds, if you're new to this work, pick up the anniversary edition of You Can Heal Your Life. Please pick up. This is an excellent book. I've read it twice. Please pick up Dr. Patricia's The Cosmic Kitchen. Oh, it's blurring. There it is. There it is. I think I'm seeing it. There it is. Please pick that up. She also has another book that I don't have. How do I not have it? Yes.
The 11 Steps to Achieve Your Dreams. And this one is really about the inner path to achieve your dreams. There's so much out there these days about, just go do it.
Yes.
And that's great. But I think we really need to clear out some other stuff and get deeper. And so this is really about the inner path to achieve your dreams, the 11 steps.
Yes. So if you had 3 tips for someone today,
Mm-hmm.
with everything happening in the world, we don't do a spiritual bypass. Could you please share that with the audience before the show?
Well, the first one would be to just ask yourself today, what can I do today to love myself?
Oh.
What can I do today to love myself? And the second one is, as you know, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So be open to opportunities, be open to the teachers that come your way, because sometimes we don't recognize them if we don't have that open mind and say, this is what I'm looking for. And really tune into your intuition, by meditation or taking a walk in nature. It doesn't have to be a specific meditation. It can be a walk in nature that gets you connected. So those would be the first 2. And then the third one, definitely we have to go back to just believe that you deserve a wonderful life and that you have a unique and special purpose on this earth. And, you're here to express that and to experience that. It doesn't mean you're going to become famous like Louise Hay. Believe me, that has its challenges, but you are unique. And it could be sometimes that just listening to your friends is your unique purpose and really supporting them. but know that you are guided in that way to really express more of who you are and to help others.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Dr. Patricia, tell us a little bit about the possible Heal Your Life training, the next one, if it's coming up, the benefits. What do you say to that person who's on the edge for, joining a 2-day workshop or doing the training?
That one I actually would say just do it. Go and do it.
Just do it.
But if you go to healyourlifetraining.com, what you'll do is you can go to the training page and you'll see all the trainings worldwide. In fact, Rick and I met with most of the trainers worldwide this morning on a very early Zoom call. They're all doing wonderful work. We have many of them speak in other languages, train in other languages.
Oh.
The next one in the U.S. Is in process of being formed, and that will be in 2026, and that will be on Heal Your Life Training when that's scheduled. But there are some wonderful trainers that we have approved worldwide, and they have trainings coming up. Some of them, still a couple of this year, and then the next year as well. So go to Heal Your Life Training, get on the mailing list, and you will get notified of all of them. But if you really are committed to your own work, you can start with this work with Louise's book if you haven't read it.
Yes.
But doing any of the workshops some of them are now online. The training is still in person because it is so deep emotionally. It's not something that we can do online. But just allow yourself to be open and be guided, and you'll get to the right one.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I've been trained.
Yes, you have.
Yes. I just want to stay perpetually in the classes and trainings because they are so special. You meet people that you're truly in alignment with. And Dr. Patricia and Rick's team are amazing. There's Anna, there's Christy. There are all of these other amazing teachers that you will have access to. Please sign up for the upcoming trainings. It will change your life.
It will change your life, absolutely.
It will help you to heal your life, my beloveds. So thank you, Dr. Patricia Crane, for being with us today.
And thank you, Reverend Martine. This has been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been wonderful. We're going to have Rick and Dr. Patricia on throughout the next few months. We're going to talk about prosperity in men with Rick next time. We're going to talk about health and healing and the power of manifestations, really getting down to the nitty gritty next time with Dr. Patricia. So thank you, beloveds, wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for streaming with us. And this is Reverend Martine Bernard. And this show is What Would Louise Say on the New Thought Media Network.